So the silent auction is gonna close at 8:45, and this is your last chance to get those really great deals that you can get by bidding on items there.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. And also the Hamilton Broadway show package in Chicago is still available. And I've seen Hamilton in Chicago and can attest that it is excellent. So everyone bid on that. Now we're gonna have a short break to wrap up food, so enjoy.
That's all the way. hooked up. It was draping over the podium. Like we tried this now. It has volume control on it.
Oh, okay.
That's my screen.
It'll be fine.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, that'll be the improvement.
Right. Yeah, I think it's as good as it's going to get.
Okay. All right, I'll have the...
Hi everyone, sorry to interrupt, but we're gonna show the video now, and the sound is very quiet, so if everyone could keep things to a low volume, that would be great. Cool.
This part has no sound.
My full name is William, and if you want the Japanese name, it's Masahari Maritime. I was born in St. Washington, and my present age is 71. Well, what happened was that I served as a civil rights lawyer in 1965, I think it was, down in Louisiana. Although in 66, the following year, I went back there, this time in Mississippi. It was in Mississippi at the voter registration in Road. There was a young African American down there in Mississippi who was registered other African Americans to vote. And apparently the social structure didn't cut and say kind of things, some black boy doing this kind of thing. And so they rigged up a whole lot of charges against him of grand theft. And I defended that boy in Portland in black copies looking back on the Yorkshire Olympics, that's kind of foolish. Because frankly, it was a risk of my life. I mean, they bombed, threw a bomb, pipe bomb in our loft, and blew their car outside. And the other thing about me in particular is because of my ethnicity, I was kind of a strange looking creature to everybody. Blacks they knew, whites they knew. I'm not talking about the power structure down there. And so they didn't know quite what to look at me. You know, was I black? Was I white? And I was so sure myself though, but you know, was closer to me. No, actually, one of my partners suggested that why don't you take a shot at it? And I thought, well, if he thinks that way, maybe we should. And again, it was a kind of a challenge. But, you know, by that time, Jews were on the bench, women were on the bench. I said, yes, it is a black By the way, this Asia, one of my series is that become liars. You'll always find that unless the Jews and the African Americans first entered out of the hell involved with the women, we won't get in. It's only after these people made it. And it's an awkward campaign because as a judge you're restricted to many things that a regular candidate for some political office can say and do. As a judge you're restricted. But again, I wanted to be able to, I'm not quite sure how to put this, to establish that an Asian can do just as well as anybody else, and maybe even better. So I campaigned very hard in the evenings and on weekends and during my vacation time I had. And surprisingly, much to my support, I came on first in the election on the field of 11 candidates, and it was brought on to 7 for the final. If a white man wins an election, nobody says anything. If you have an African American winning an election, nobody says anything. But when a non-white, non-black candidate wins, is on the top, now you gotta have an explanation. He's not a candidate just as good as anybody else. He's a fluke. Let me tell you what the fluke is. The fluke is you have an Italian name. You know, as a candidate, you have to reconcile the difficulty that comes with as well. One of the stories that was been shifting was that I was appointed by Governor Schaaf in 1975 because 1976 was my centennial year, 1776 to 1976. And there'd be a lot of visitors coming from Japan to Philadelphia to see the David Bell. So we got to have a Japanese American one of your kind, so they can come to and tell us that we have one of your kind. That is a pure homage. Pure homage. How dare anybody judge us on whether we're modern or not modern? He doesn't know whether it is a sin if you're modern or not. I didn't go to, I didn't appoint you to say modern, you judge. This by implication causes the structure of the bill of the superior and inferior. So only the superior says you're this or you're that, or whatever, or you're not this or you're not that. Well, all of them. I mean, they have no right to do that. And every senator does in America does a human being. Someone arrogates to themselves this role of being a judge.
And now for the presentation of Attorney of the Year, I'm going to call up Jennifer Lin.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight is a very special and celebratory evening indeed. I'd just like to take a moment to recognize my fellow and esteemed members of the Leadership Advisory Council of APABA PA, especially our formidable chairperson, Joe Centeno. Would Joe and the members of the LAC please stand if you're in the room? The LAC has done a remarkable job over the years in giving APABA PA's co-founders and past presidents a platform and outlet to continue disseminating their vast knowledge, experience, and leadership to the organization, as well as keeping alive their incredible legacy and institutional knowledge. It is through the fine efforts of the LAC and Joe Centeno's leadership that APABA PA's Attorney of the Year Award was conceived, and it's why we're able to celebrate and honor remarkable attorneys like KU. I've known Kay for well over a decade now, and throughout that time, she has never ceased to amaze me through her dedication not only to her expansive legal practice, but also through her exceptional dedication and service to the community and city of Philadelphia. Kay and I have worked very closely together as longtime board members of APABA PA before it was even known as APABA PA. In fact, it is Kay who led the charge in 2008 in expanding our organization statewide, launching a new website, and implementing a historic name change from the Asian American Bar Association of Delaware Valley to the Asian Pacific American Bar Association of Pennsylvania, you know, as APABA PA. If you've had a chance to read Kay's impressive bio, you'll see that she's someone who thrives in challenging situations and is invariably the person you look to if you want to not only get the job done, but you want to get it done with precision and panache. During her presidency of APABA PA in 2008, Kay was appointed by Mayor Nutter to the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations and was soon thereafter promoted to the position of chairperson. Under her leadership, the commission became instrumental in helping to resolve the explosive conflict that took place in South Philadelphia High School. Kay also spearheaded landmark legislative efforts in overhauling the Philadelphia Fair Practices Ordinance, which, since its implementation in 2011, has provided victims an opportunity to readily pursue remedies for unlawful discrimination. For as long as I've known and worked with Kay, she has poured her heart and soul into any and every endeavor that she's undertaken. We are very blessed to have her as a veteran leader, role model, and mentor within the APABA PA and APABA family. Kay's leadership and dedication to our organization knows no bounds. Her fierce determination and strength, this iron will to serve as an agent of change in the most challenging and at times troubling circumstances, is what sets Kay apart from the masses. And it is the reason why she is deeply cherished and celebrated by the Philadelphia legal community at large. As Chancellor-elect Shelley Fadulo mentioned, in April of this year, the Philadelphia Bar Association honored Kay with the Justice Sotomayor Diversity Award. She was also named a Woman of Distinction, as well as being named one of Pennsylvania's Diversity Attorneys of the Year by the Legal Intelligencer and Pennsylvania Law Weekly. I don't know where Kay gets her boundless energy. That will forever remain a mystery to me, because most of us mere mortals would be ready to collapse from exhaustion keeping the schedule that she does day in and out. But no, apart from being a longtime ultramarathon runner, she is also a 10-plus year veteran of the Boston Marathon. So just when you thought, you know, you're hot stuff, Kay comes strutting along with these fancy accolades, and we can't help but admire her and adore her all the more for them. One of the best things in knowing Kay is watching her in action, seeing where that tremendous fortitude and talent takes her in life. Well, as it turns out, Kay is considering running for a position as a judge on the Court of Common Pleas. So let's please keep your eyes peeled and your ears to the ground, because this amazing lady is going places. And on that note, it is my privilege and pleasure to introduce to you my dear friend and colleague, Apaba PA's 2018 Attorney of the Year, Kay Kyung-Sin Yu.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. So this is an incredible room full of people I love. Thank you all for being here. My firm, Wadud, hi, Miss Gaviolina, they're over there. The Governor's Advisory Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs. There's a table of you behind the pillar, you guys. And also got to mention that Representative Patty Kim and I also both serve on the Governor's Advisory Commission. Thank you for being here. All the folks from Paula and J2, you guys are eternally always with us here. There you guys. All right. So if there's anything that my friends know about me is that any story about me begins with a story about my mom. I was born in Seoul, Korea, but I've lived in the United States since I was 3.5. My mom brought me here without a plan on how to feed the family. But she showed me what it looks like to live life with courage. She showed me what it looks like to work hard, and she showed me what it looks like to face adversity with resilience. She came and brought her entrepreneurial spirit, so even though she didn't know how she was going to feed us, she made an investment, and she bought an IBM Selectric typewriter and started typing other people's dissertations by charging them per page. I clearly remember the day that I found deportation notices for me and my entire family. It took more than a decade, but I found my path to citizenship when there was immigration reform back in 1986. I was a college student at the time, and it actually gave me the opportunity for me to become my own first client. I went to the law library at school. I looked up the new immigration law. I started gathering evidence, and ultimately, I submitted my application for permanent residency. I would have done the same for my mom, but by then, she had already passed away. But this journey is what inspired me to go to law school. And in the same year that I graduated, I became a naturalized citizen of these United States of America. That was 25 years ago. And I have been truly blessed with so many tremendous opportunities as an attorney. And looking back on my career, I feel nothing but gratitude. None of these things, though, would have happened for me without my Apaba PA family. Apaba PA, not only has this organization made me a better lawyer, it's made me a better human. It really has been a long relationship. Started back in 2004, and Sophia Lee, hi. Sophia was the one who introduced me to ABBA-DV, and of course we had to travel to Dallas, Texas for us to meet for the first time, and for me to learn about ABBA-DV. And 2004 in Texas, and James Cho is here. We were convention buddies. He was from Chicago at the time, but we did everything, and he's here tonight, coming down from New York to spend the evening with me. Thanks, James. So at the time, Sophia did tell me that she was going to be president in 2006, and she might have mentioned that there was something big happening, and that was the NAPABA convention, the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association, was coming to town. They were bringing their convention to Philadelphia. So she did tell me that, but she didn't tell me what that would really mean, right? But that was the chance for me to meet all of the leaders of this great organization. It includes Sophia, includes Joe Centeno, includes Shi Wen Law, one of the founding members. I saw him here too. Includes Suzanne Young and many, many others. So as we worked round the clock to put that convention on, which I still believe was one of the best ever, it really is nothing like stuffing registration bags into the wee hours of the morning to build relationships very quickly. And we totally did that. I also dragged my Pepper colleagues, I was at Pepper at the time, into the fray. So that's what happens when you get involved with the PABA. Ken Massey was with me there, Keith Lee was there, and then they both became very involved, and as you might have noticed, Ken Massey is our president this year. There is something I really remember about 2006 at the convention. We had a keynote speaker. He was Arlen Specter. And Grace and Erica, I don't know if you remember that like I do. At the time, there was but one Asian American Pacific Islander judge on the bench in the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Judge Ida Chen, who she sent me a really cute email, congratulations, with a little picture, but she couldn't be here tonight, and we miss her greatly. But she was the sole AAPI judge in the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So we raised this with Senator Specter, who said two things. He said, well, first of all, my door is always open, and secondly, where is your pipeline? So, I think it was probably 10 years later, Judge Stella Tsai, thank you for doubling the number of state court judges we have. And earlier this evening, Judge Ashley Chan was here. She sits on the bankruptcy court here in the Eastern District. And we have one other, Judge Kathy Bassoon, district judge in the Western District on the other side of the Commonwealth. So we've made a little progress, but we still have work to do. AAPIs are still the most underrepresented demographic in government across the board. So, another truly remarkable thing about my PABA PA family is that sometimes I get to hang out with my friends in other parts of the world, and not just in Texas. Jen, you remember Avignon? You were there for me then, as you have been every day. I got to journey through New Zealand with Suzanne and her husband, Dave. Suzanne's not here today because she is spending her months-long trip right now in Europe. But that's okay because Susan Lin and I will be seeing her in 2 short weeks in Italy. So very excited about that. Rahat. We've spent countless hours talking about everything from how to find happiness in life to debating constitutional issues. And then you marry Chi Sir, so it's like even better. Then having a PABA PA, having the opportunity to take on leadership roles has changed me in ways I could never have anticipated. One of them is that I became an internet stalker. But I think it's still a good thing because we would not have Deborah Hong. Where is Deborah? She was here. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I found Deborah, on the internet, stalking her. So it worked. But seriously, being part of APABA, really, it opened doors for me. And without this organization, it would not have put me in a place when I was president-elect in 2007, and I met a certain candidate for mayor at that time. And when Mayor Nutter took office, he then appointed me to the Commission on Human Relations. That changed me completely. It changed the trajectory of my career, and it also gave me a passion for public service. Would never have happened without APABA PA. Jen mentioned the work that we did then. Who here doesn't remember who was here at the time, the day of violence at South Philadelphia High School on December 3rd of 2009? This organization worked tirelessly. Jung, you did with the Community Outreach Committee, and it became an absolute priority. I love the other ways that my worlds have collided too. Alina. So yes, she is an amazing young rock star attorney who gets to, I get to practice with her every day at Ahmad Zafri's. But I met her when I was at the commission, and she was an intern after her first year of law school. It amazes me how much APABA PA has done to enrich my life and push me into a world where I find true fulfillment as a lawyer. So, so much of the best part about APABA PA is that I get to meet young lawyers, young law students, and watch them grow, develop, and lead. Last year was the NAPABA Northeast Regional Conference that took place here in Philadelphia. And it was amazing. Brilliant job by everybody. Brian was president, Ken, Melissa, Crystal, Michelle, Kat, Kathleen, Rosie, and they're just but a few. They did such a spectacular job. And the best part was I didn't have to do a thing. It was amazing. But so what I do, though, wonder, how is it that I became one of the co-chairs for the APABA PA Voter Protection Program? The best part about it is that Chiser and I are co-chairs, so I get to work very closely with Chiser. She's amazing. And then it's also a labor of love. I had to fight for my right to vote. It was not a birthright for me. And it is so important. It is so important. I don't think we really even realize how important it is. For us to become civically engaged in the way that we ought, we need to realize that voting is not just a right, it's not just a privilege, but it's a responsibility. So that's why we have incorporated into this evening a notion that we are going to have a pledge of 100% registration of all eligible voters in our organization. Because that's the way it should be. We should be at 100%. And then I'm going to explain these little cards that are on your table. These are pledge cards. This is a promise to vote. If you're eligible, make sure you're registered. We have a bunch of volunteers. Anybody who has a little, the red, white, and blue on their tags, they're volunteers who are out there to make sure that we remember that we have this responsibility. So these are pledges to vote. Fill them out and promise that you will make a plan on voting on November 6th. So come out. There should be, okay, I didn't do all of my homework, so I have to get back with how to register in New Jersey. But if you are a Pennsylvania resident, if you are a U.S. citizen and you are over 18, do not leave here without registering to vote, because you can do it online, we can do it here, and we only have until October 9th. So that is a deadline. It's sort of hard to vote here in Pennsylvania, but we have to register to vote. And this pledge card is to say that you will promise to go out on Tuesday, November 6th, and exercise your franchise. That's what these cards are for. And we'll also help you out, because if you fill it out and give us information, we'll send you a reminder. You know, we'll text you, we'll email you. I'll even put something in the mail to you to remind you to vote, because we have no voice unless we vote. So please, please make that commitment. We have to change the way we do this. In Pennsylvania in May, the turnout was 18%. 18%. We can change that, and we should change that, and it starts with us. So thank you very much. Fill out your cards.
Thank you, Kay. I'm going to call up real quick Carol Wong, who's going to give some remarks from the governor.
Hi, I'm so honored and happy to present this congratulations from Governor Tom Wolf. I'm just going to read 2 lines because of time. It is my pleasure to join with the Asian Pacific American Bar Association of Pennsylvania, APABA, PA, to congratulate you on receiving the Attorney of the Year award. It lists all her accomplishments and contributions and her commitment to helping others. And as governor and on behalf of all the citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I am pleased to recognize your innumerable contributions. Please accept my best wishes for continued success. This is from Governor Wolf. Yeah. Everything you heard about Kay is absolutely true, but I'm really blessed to have her as a friend. I'm the one that calls and says, did you sleep? Do you have enough to eat? So I'm really happy and honored to present this to her from the governor. Congratulations.
So before I introduce the next speaker, this is a reminder not to forget about the 50/50 raffle. You can buy 1 ticket for $2, $5 for 5 tickets, $10 for 20 tickets, and if you pay $20, you can get as many tickets as the length of your arms. So it's a good deal if you have long arms. The 50/50 raffle will end at 9:10, but it's past 9:10, so I'm not sure what's going. Okay, in 10 minutes. And also, after the banquet, if people could leave their name tags at the registration table, that would be great. And so, without further ado, I'm gonna call on Rahat Babar to come and introduce our keynote speaker.
Friends, good evening. First, before I begin, I want to express my congratulations to a very dear friend, Kay. Very well deserved. I really have no words to describe how well deserved this award is. So congratulations. It's truly my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for this evening. I'll be very candid. This is quite a moment for me. I have the rare opportunity to introduce my boss. So although to be fair, I have introduced him once before, and at the time, I had very positive and encouraging words to say about him. But tonight, it's a little different. I won't follow the standard protocol and deliver a summary of his impressive biography, talk about his time as a federal prosecutor in Brooklyn, in New Jersey, and then as a Bergen County prosecutor. You can certainly read his biography in your program book, online, or in the latest newspaper article. You see, tonight is different because it's as if I'm having my boss over for dinner with family and friends. See, I grew up in Philadelphia, going to grade school, high school, and college, all within about a mile or two from where we are right now. So for more than a decade, PABA PA has been my professional home, serving as much needed support for me in my early years of practice. You gave me the opportunity to serve our community, and ultimately allowed me the privilege to serve on the board and as your president. I have formed lifelong friendships here, and in fact, if it wasn't for a PABA PA, I may not even have met my wife. So tonight, for me, is like a family dinner, with the task of welcoming our guest to our home. I don't think it's an understatement to say that we live in extraordinary times. Principles that we have taken for granted before are suddenly called into question. Constitutional norms that we thought were sacrosanct or now appear more fragile. And hate, which had struggled to find refuge in the mainstream, has now found a home in more and more corners of our public discourse today. In these uncertain times, we need leadership. When the Attorney General started in January, I wasn't sure what to expect. But over the past 8 months, I've gained an immense appreciation. I am grateful that we have a leader who is bold in protecting the rights of all the residents in New Jersey, whether it's pushing back against the injustices facing our dreamers or any of our communities. He hasn't hesitated. I am grateful that we have an Attorney General who is compassionate, whether it's in the approach to addressing the vast opioid epidemic or strengthening the ties between government and the community. And lastly, I am grateful for the privilege and honor to work for a leader who is driven by principle and is deeply committed to serving the people of New Jersey. So, friends, it is my pleasure to introduce the 61st Attorney General for the state of New Jersey, Gurbir Grewal.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. PABA PA, it's so great to be with you this evening. I apologize for being a little bit late coming here from the northernmost part of New Jersey, but I understand there's 10 more courses left for me to sample. But in all seriousness, Rahat, thank you very much for that very kind introduction. I suppose if it wasn't kind, then it would be awkward in the office on Tuesday morning. I also want to, before I begin my remarks, and I also understand there's an after-hours party upstairs, so I won't be too long, I hope. But before I begin, I do want to recognize the other awardees this evening, Kay, whose resume is remarkable, and the Maritani Fellows who were recognized earlier this evening. So let's give them another round of applause. It would not be an understatement to say that the work that each of you do in your own space is not only amazing, but it's especially critical. As Rahat alluded to, I think it's critical, especially given the moment in which all of us are living right now. And that's what I'd like to speak to you a bit about this evening. I want to talk to you about some of the challenges that I've seen in my own life and how they mirror the challenges that we're seeing in the political climate in which we're living right now, and then talk to you about what we're doing about it at the Attorney General's office in New Jersey. As Rahat made clear, my name is Gurbir Grewal. I was born across the river in New Jersey. I went to college in Washington, D.C. and law school down in Virginia. Before becoming Attorney General, I was twice sworn in as a federal prosecutor, first in Brooklyn, New York, then in Newark, New Jersey. I was appointed by a Republican governor to be the Bergen County prosecutor, which is the chief law enforcement officer for the most populous county in New Jersey. And then about 8 months ago, I was appointed by a Democratic governor to be the 61st Attorney General for New Jersey. But just a couple of months ago, there were a couple of conservative radio hosts, and I hope you don't get this radio station in Philadelphia, but a couple of conservative radio hosts in New Jersey who were talking about me, and they were talking about the work of my office. And they claimed that they couldn't remember my name. So in that instance, on that radio show, they decided to give me a new name. They decided to call me Turban Man. And one of the hosts then said, listen, if that offends you, then don't wear the turban, and then maybe I'll remember your name. Now, listen, I don't particularly care what a couple of radio hosts call me, particularly conservative radio hosts. I've been called far, far worse throughout my life. And if you don't believe me, you could just go online to any one of the articles about the work that my office does and scroll down and read those comments. Some of it could be really stomach-turning. But most often, I've experienced these incidents alone. Maybe once in a while, I'll experience them when I'm out with one of my 3 daughters in a store or a restaurant. But in the case of those 2 radio hosts, I experienced that particular incident with the rest of the state of New Jersey. You see, the radio host comments went viral. And all of New Jersey heard them say that as long as I wore my turban, that I wasn't worth remembering. They reduced me, and by extension, everyone who shares my Sikh faith, to the most visible aspect of our identity. Now, as if that weren't enough, just 2 weeks ago, I heard another remark. Actually, all of New Jersey heard another remark. This time from the former Bergen County Sheriff, someone who I worked alongside for 2 years. Again, with all of New Jersey listening and having a front row seat, he commented that the only reason that I became Attorney General was because of my turban. He couldn't leave it there. He went on to make hurtful, racist, and homophobic remarks directed at others, including others in government. And if you happen to invite me back next year, I am certain that there will be more of these incidents for me to share with you. Again, as was the case with the radio show host and the sheriff, I don't particularly care what they think about me. But here's what bothers me in the case of both those comments. I believe that given the moment in which we are now living, we all need to be very careful about the words we use and the way we describe others, particularly those of us who have platforms. But unfortunately, in recent years, we've seen members of our own society, including our president, use words to dehumanize others, to pit communities against each other, to strip individuals of their identity and their dignity. And far, far too frequently, we've seen words escalate to violence. We've seen that comments can lead to conduct. Again, even in this moment, I don't worry about myself. I've got very thick skin, and as Attorney General, I travel with the security detail. I'm worried about those who don't have thick skin, who don't have a security detail. There are so many people in this country who face harassment on a daily basis. People who are attacked still because of how they look, or who they love, or where they pray. Recently, it was people like Sahib Singh Nath, a 71-year-old turban-wearing man, Sikh man, who was brutally attacked on August 6th of this year near his home in Manteca, California, as he went out for a walk. Or people like Surjit Singh Mully, a 50-year-old turban-wearing Sikh man who was attacked in Turlock, California on July 31st of this year. His attackers told him he didn't belong in this country. Last year, it was Shri Nivas Kochibotla, an Indian engineer who was shot dead in Olathe, Kansas, after a gunman told him to get out of this country. Last year, it was also Heather Heyer, a white supremacist, mowed her down with his car in the wake of a protest where white supremacists carried torches, and chanted, "Jews will not replace us," at, of all places, a college campus. That's what I worry about. I worry because I know through my job that words can lead to conduct. And while my position in government may expose me to more and more attacks, it also gives me a platform to push back. And as a public official, I have both the opportunity and the obligation to do so, to stand up for all those who have been marginalized or harassed or attacked. That's what this moment requires. That's what justice requires. And that's precisely what we've been doing over the last 8 months at the Attorney General's office. And that's precisely what we'll continue to do in the time to come. As my state's chief law enforcement officer, I stand ready to use all the tools at my disposal to protect those in danger, to bring justice to any person who commits acts of violence against others, regardless of whether they're motivated by hatred of a particular race, religion, or ethnic group. Because here's the thing. An act of hate against any one of our communities must be treated as an act of hate against all of our communities. We must also be willing to call out hateful comments or inaction in the face of such comments by our leaders, regardless of the consequences. We must also push back against the federal government when it fails to protect all of its residents. We must especially push back when the federal government violates our laws, our Constitution, and our sense of decency. And that's why, since becoming Attorney General in January, I have joined with other Attorneys General to push back by bringing over 50 actions against the federal government. We have pushed back against efforts to rescind protections for our Dreamers. We have pushed back against efforts to ban travel from Muslim-majority countries. We have pushed back on so-called zero-tolerance immigration policies that separate families. And when they put children in cages, it was attorneys general across the country that pushed back. And we have pushed back against efforts to bar soldiers from military service simply because of their gender identity. We have pushed back against the many, many attacks on women. We have pushed back against the many, many attacks on our environment. And in New Jersey, we stand ready to use all of our authority to challenge the federal government whenever and wherever it breaks the law. We don't do it because it's easy, and we really don't do it because it's popular. We do it because as attorneys general, we have all taken oaths to protect the Constitution, our residents, and our states. And these actions that I spoke about directly affect the rule of law and our residents. But here's the other thing. Pushing back alone can never be the entire solution. I simply reject the notion that the only way to reclaim this moment is by fighting the federal government at every single turn. Rather than simply opposing what's going on in Washington, we must also use our energy to build something that we can all be proud of. And I've taken this to heart back home in New Jersey. That's why in the Garden State, we are also using the power of the Attorney General's office to build something that can stand as a model for the rest of the country. And here's how we're doing it. At a time when it seems like the bonds between law enforcement and the communities it serves are fraying and breaking down, we're working tirelessly to strengthen them through transparency and dialogue. At a time when opioid addiction is ravaging nearly every corner of the United States, we are attempting to stem the tide by offering low-level offenders treatment instead of incarceration. And at a time when our Dreamers are under attack, we have shown that they are welcome in New Jersey. That's why in one of my first official acts, I swore in the first Dreamer, Parthiv Patel, to the New Jersey State Bar. And that's also why I traveled down to Texas several months ago to fight back an effort by Republican attorneys general to repeal DACA. And I'm happy to report that we won that first round. These are just a couple of examples of what we're doing to pursue justice, to protect our residents, and to ensure the safety of all of our communities. And what this should show each of you in this room this evening is that while we live in an era of unique challenges, we also live in an era of unique opportunities. And this is also our chance to show the country what it looks like when people, regardless of background, regardless of ideology, come together to solve problems. This is our chance to serve as a model of good and responsible government, a model that's not based on opposing and tearing down others, but on building an affirmative agenda that improves the lives of all of our residents. So all of this provides me a little bit of solace when I hear two conservative radio hosts call me Turban Man, or when a sheriff that I work closely with reduces me to the turban that I wear. And all of this, and here's the other thing, all of us in this room should take a great deal of comfort knowing that people far greater than us, people far braver than us, people like Judge William Maritani, who we remember this evening, overcame far worse than we're experiencing in this moment. Over the course of our nation's history, attacks and insults have been hurled at people struggling for a better life, at so many marginalized and oppressed groups. They have been directed at labor activists as they organize inside sweatshops, Chinese immigrants as they built the railroads, at Japanese Americans as they endured the horrors of internment. They have been directed at women who campaigned for the right to vote and women who still today dare to speak out against sexual assault. And I know full well that they have been hurled at many people sitting in this room this evening. But part of what has always made this country so great is that we continuously rise above all of these challenges, and we rise above all of these attacks. We stand up. We find ways to unite around common goals and principles and values. We vote. We create communities that view our differences as virtues. We come together to build something greater and stronger than what existed before. I think that's what this political climate demands from each of us, from everyone here in this room. And especially those in this room this evening. We all have a special obligation to stand up. Nearly 5 decades ago, my parents, like many of your parents, crossed oceans to come to this country in search of a better life for themselves and for their family. And like so many others, they came in pursuit of the notion of the American dream, that notion that no matter where you come from, what you look like, how you pray, or who you love, that if you are ready to work hard, you could achieve success in this country. And in so many ways, they found that better life and they realized that dream. And through their example, they showed me that it was possible to achieve success in this country without compromising your identity or your beliefs, that the two were not incompatible. And in the process, they also reminded me to be grateful for all of the opportunities that this country had afforded us and to other immigrant families like ours, to your families. And they taught me to give back, because to whom much is given, much is required. And I'm driven each and every day by that desire to return that favor, not only by creating a better life for my own daughters, but also by engaging in public service, looking the way I do, believing the way I do, and doing my part to make our country and our communities safer, fairer, and more just for all of us. So I urge each of you to do the same, to give back, because I think as more and more of us from the APA community, from all communities for that matter, push back together through public service, through involvement, through engagement, and as we've heard throughout this evening, by voting, I know, once again, that we can reclaim this moment, as we have done so many times before through our nation's history and in the dark. So listen, That's probably a sign that cocktails are ready upstairs. I'm going to break from the remarks and just say I am so excited to have been here with you this evening. I really look forward to working with each of you in the days, the months, and the years to come as we really try to get together and work together to build a better country for all of us. So thank you so much, Papa PA. I'm good. Thank you. What? I get the hint.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
What are we looking? Are we looking? I don't know.
Okay.
Well, the light's still on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. That's the first time that's happened. I guess more people will start using it next. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
And the cocktails are almost ready upstairs. And I'd like to call up Jung Tran,